Hello, people of YouTube, and I suppose I should say Happy New Year. It's the first time I've seen you all this year, or the first time you've seen me this year. It's a bit late saying that on the 20th of January, but anyway, Happy New Year. So I thought I'd do a quick video, just a bit of an update on the future of the channel, what I've got planned, and the studio's changed quite a bit in terms of not necessarily gear. There are some new additions, but I've got it laid out a little bit differently, and at the moment everything's working really well. I mean, I've jinxed it now by saying that anyway. So I thought I'd do a little bit of a studio tour. So yeah, it's kind of the future of the channel. I know I've been a little bit quiet the last couple of years. Not been uploading as regularly as I wanted to. Any of you who regularly watch my videos will know that's partly because I had a dog a couple of years ago who, bless him, Freddie the Cockapoo, who I keep trying to get into the studio so he can feature in the videos for some extra cute factor, but he's not a fan of it in here at the moment. I'm trying to trade him to like it in here. And he keeps chewing the cables, so that's not a good idea. But anyway, you may see Freddie appearing in later videos for some added cute levels. So yeah, that's kind of got in the way a bit, and other life things have got in the way. But I'm hoping during 2023 to get a little bit more regular on my uploads. Before I talk any more about that, I just want to say a massive thank you to people who are supporting me on Patreon. That is growing quite steadily now, and it is much appreciated. I know it's a very small amount. It's like the price of 1 cup of coffee a month for you guys to support me, but it does make a difference. I have used some of that Patreon money so far. I bought a new mixer, which we'll see over here. We'll have a look at in a second. So I've kind of used that, and the idea behind that is that the money I make from that I will put back into the channel, as I say, to make bigger and better videos. So while we're doing the shameless plug on Patreon, there are 3 levels. It's $1 a month, £1 a month, or $3.50, or £5 a month, or $5, €5. You'll get different levels of freebiz for that. If you're not bothered about the free stuff and you just want to support the channel, then please feel free to do so. Even the £1 a month does make a difference to me. So yeah, I mean, the free things you're going to get on there are, I am sharing the contents of my SD card from the Deluge. I have got a Machine Plus sitting over there now, and I'll probably do the same thing with that for any machine users out there. I'm gradually building up, although it's very slow to do, a bit of a library of multi-samples that you can have off there. There are also some other like samples and loop packs and things on there. I'm also trying to work on like a few books to put on there, just on synthesis and music production, all that kind of stuff. Hopefully they'll come on in time. But yeah, that's what you're going to get. But like I say, if you just want to support the channel and help me out, then that is much appreciated. So my plans for the first part of the year is I'm going to try and do a series of live streams, which are going to be on a fairly regular basis. I've got an idea that I want to try and write 2 albums in the first half of this year. One's just going to be a complete acid techno banger, and the other one's going to be an ambient album. My idea was I will write those and try and live stream most of the process of me creating those 2 albums, and then I'll give them to Patreon but people earlier before release or whatever. So I mean, feel free to take part in the live streams. You can help shape the sound of those. I've no idea how that's going to go. It may be amazing, it may be a pile of pants, but we'll see what happens. That's the plan anyway. Certainly during January, probably February, I'm going to be doing loads and loads of live streams. Res Reacts is going to continue. I've not done a Res Reacts for ages. I've got a few tracks in the inbox to get through. I'm going to do another featured artist as well, which is going to come up fairly soon. Hopefully in the next few weeks I'll get through that. So I'm going to carry on with that. Any hardware companies out there, Native Instruments, Roland, Korg, Yamaha, anybody like that, if you want to send me some free hardware to do a Res Reacts to hardware, then I'd be more than happy to do that for you. Obviously with, you know, an honest opinion of whether I like stuff or not. But anyway, yeah, so there's that. I'm also in the process of, as mentioned just a second ago, I've got Machine Plus over there. I am trying to put my whole live set on there, and I'm trying to build a bit of a, what I would call a modular live set. Not modular as in modular synths, but modular in that I can have it from a very basic thing of just taking out with me the Machine Plus to then adding other controllers and other synths with that. So that's on the horizon as well. I'm kind of, I've sort of got quite a few tracks on there at the moment. So that's coming up there as well. Any other tips and tricks I kind of think about? I might do quite a bit of stuff on modular because the modular has grown quite a bit, so I may do some patching ideas on the modular. We'll go through the modular in a sec. And then anything else I can think of. So as well, if you've got any requests for any kind of videos that you'd like me to try and cover this year, then stick those in the comments box below, and I will do my best to sort those out for you and help you out, because that's the whole point of this channel, is to help you guys out with some tutorials and stuff, and also some live jams and things. I'm going to do some jams as part of my live stream. The first of which I'll probably do tonight, but it's pointless saying this tonight because you may be watching this in like 3 months' time. But anyway, so I've got to work out the easiest way to do my studio tour. Let's just give you a few different views of the studio first of all. So if we switch to this one, that kind of gives you a full of how messy it is in here. Yeah, I mean, I do need to declutter a bit. So down the back end, where you can see some drums, that's where I do my teaching. That's my main line of work is I'm a drum teacher, so that happens down that end. And then this half is where all the spaceshipness happens. So we've got an overhead cam on this section here, which is kind of my live desk. This is where I kind of work on my live sets, over on there. Over on this side, that's hello. That's where the modular and everything else works. I'll talk through all of this in a second. And I suppose I've not... let me go back to that one. I suppose I should have a camera on this side, but I've not on this side at the moment. But I'll kind of switch between some of this and probably some of... I'll do some close-ups on my phone as well whilst I'm doing it. Okay, so let's start over on this side. Okay, we'll do a quick overview of this side, and then we will. I'll do a bit of a sweep through with the camera on a bit of a close-up. So this is the original modular case. You may have recognised this from the past. I've almost filled that. There is a small gap in there, which I'll show you in a minute. I bought this one recently. This is a bit of a DIY one, actually. I brought just the case off eBay, a second-hand one, and then I've put this power supply in there, and there are gaps that need filling at the moment. That gap is filled with my patch cards from the Moog Mavis. But I've got a big gap there that I need to fill. That's the annoying thing with modular stuff. You have gaps and you need to buy more stuff, and then you fill your case and you think, you know what, I need another case. But I'll go through all the modules in there in a second. This is the little Volca area. I've got 3 Volcas down here. We've got the good old faithful Deluge over here, which basically controls everything. I'll talk about all the connections in a minute, but this is the center of everything. We've got the Micro Freak over here. We've got an MS-20 over there. And we've got a patch bay there that's not being used at the moment. So let's just do a little kind of sweep round with the phone, and I'll show you kind of what we've got a bit more close up. So for this modular, I've got this case. This is a Dreadbox case. Let's try and get it all in there. I've got quite a few different bits and bobs in here. Let me just put that cable back on there. I mean, very exciting, the thing I had for Christmas. Cable holder. You know, it sorts my cables out. I mean, that looks a mess, but it's a lot more organised than it was before. So let's start with this. We've got a few of the Behringer System 100 modules in here. So we've got the kind of like the voice thing in one, which is a VCO. So we've got an oscillator, a filter, and an amp in there. We've got the step sequencer in here, and then we've got the mixer and the little EQ thing going in there. So that's one sort of sound source synth area, and I've got an envelope generator here. I've got 2 envelope generators actually here, which are used for different things. These are just like splitters and a sample and a whole thing. This is kind of like the Dopefer area. So we've got a VCO here going into this mixer. We've got a filter, an audio divider, another envelope generator, and a VCA there. Just coming back to that in a second, we've got a quantizer here, which is used for the sequencer, which basically puts all the notes in the correct key. We've got a MIDI to CV converter, which I'm using for one of the modules. And then we've got like just a little VCA with a nice little readout on there so I can see the waveforms that I'm creating. So this module, we've got a Platts from Mutable Instruments, which is brilliant, and that's just had an update. I might do some videos on that recently, where it's got like DX7 patches and all sorts in it. Brilliant little module. It's not dead cheap. I know Behringer do a version of that that's a little bit cheaper. Great little module. Annoying gap there. So I've got like, I think that's like a 2 HP gap there. So I could put another, I've got a tiny one in here actually, which I forgot about, which is a 2 HP pluck, which makes really nice sort of plucky sounds. So I've got basically sort of 4 different sound sources in there. We've got the Behringer, we've got the Dopefer, we've got the Platts, and we've got the pluck in there. And this Dreadbox case, which I don't think they make anymore, that's my car keys. Let's get rid of them. We've got a Moog sticker there, why not? Has this bit built in at the bottom, which is brilliant. It's got a mixer. It has actually got a MIDI to CV converter in there as well. Kind of a secondary mixer there. Got attenuators and splitters and a built-in LFO. So it's a great little case. Coming across to the second case, we've got the Model D, which I've had a while, which I've not used much actually, but I'm getting into it a bit more now. I've rack mounted it, so that's kind of, I can use bits off there to control other stuff. Newest edition, which was a Christmas present, was the Moog Mavis, which sounds absolutely fantastic. Got a great patch bay here. It's limited in that it's only one oscillator, but it's my first Moog, or Moog. I've always called it Moog. I'm going to start calling it Moog. So very excited that I got a Moog. Yeah, and there's the patch sheets for that, and there's a massive gap, and then there's a big gap in there that needs filling, and then that's just the power supply for that over there. So coming back over here, we've got some Volcas. So we've got a Volca mix, and then we've got the Volca FM, which is fantastic, and the Volca new bass, which is also fantastic. So I've got these down here, which is really good because the Volca mix, you only got to plug that in, and that will power up these two as well. So I'm only using one plug for all those 3, because I've got quite a lot of plugs in my studio, as you may have noticed. I've got the Deluge there, which anybody who's a regular viewer of my channel will know all about the Deluge. We've got an MS-20. Again, it's something I've not been using a massive amount of recent times, but I want to get into using that a little bit more. And then we've got a Micro Freak down here, which is also a fantastic synth. And then over in the corner, we've got a Himalayan salt lamp, a little bongo thing that I got in Portugal last year, and a lightsaber, and a lava lamp, and a spooky dude in the corner wearing headphones. So yeah, why not? Okay, so that's that section of the studio. If we come round, let's just have a look at this section, because I've not really got a camera that's going to show this section much. In fact, what I can do, let me just adjust this other camera, and we'll have a couple of views of this. Okay, so this is kind of like the main sort of control area. I've got a Surface Pro 7 down here, which is where I'm running basically everything. OBS, Ableton Live Machine, that's all coming from there. We've got the 16-channel mixer here, which we'll do a little bit of a close-up sweep on in a second, which is the most recent addition to the studio. I'll talk about that in a sec. We've got 2 monitors. We've got the Tannoy Reveal monitors. We've got a massive, which is basically just a Samsung TV, which I'm using as a secondary monitor. And then over here, we've got an Uno drum, an Uno synth, and then over there, we've got a Complete Control S25. So let's just do a bit more of a close-up on this. So there's the Surface Pro. So this is a really cheap 16-channel mixer. It's one of these Chinese Depu Sheng things, which I got off Amazon for, it was 180 quid. For a 16-channel mixer is ridiculous. And yeah, okay, I'd say it feels plasticky. It doesn't. It is kind of like metal, and it's not going to be the best quality in the world, but it does sound pretty good. And it's an audio interface as well. So that's actually at the moment using the audio interface going into the laptop, which is brilliant. It cuts down on other stuff. We've got some pop vinyls under there, which are all from Blade Runner 2049. Love that film. We mentioned we've got the Unos. So we've got the Uno drum, and the Uno synth, headphones, and then the Complete Control S25. We've got an amp here, so this is just like a hi-fi amp, which is powering the speakers, and they've got a turntable over there, so I can sample stuff from records with an 808 slip map, but I can also just play some vinyl in here if I wish as well. That's that side of the studio. Over this side, let's stay on this camera for now. We've got Micro Brute, Minilog, System 8, fantastic synth. I mean, it just does so much, and I should spend more time on that. I've got another monitor up there with the on-air sign. above it. And then coming down, we've got the TD3 from Behringer. We've got the NTS1, the little mini synth from Korg, which I use mostly just as an effects thing, which is pretty cool. Just bear with me 1 second. I'm just going to turn my heater off. There we go. Otherwise, it's going to make noise in the background. We've got a couple of MIDI controllers that I'm not using at the moment. So there's an Autoria Analog Lab and I don't know, Control 2, but they're kind of useful every now and then. We've got an Alesis effects unit there, which is connected to the MX1 just on the send and return. So that's that section. And then coming round over to here, this is my kind of live desk. So this is where I practice all my live stuff. So we've got the Machine Plus, which is fantastic. Absolutely love this. Got this towards the end of last year. Really good deal on that second hand I got. We've got the MX1, which I'm just sort of using as a secondary mixer. But I do use that for playing live as well. iPad, which at the moment has got Pure Acid on it by Jim Audio, which is a fantastic little 303 thing. We've got the Roland Ira TB03 there, and then we've got the TR6 over there. So that's kind of like the main bit of the this end of the studio. We've got a whiteboard with some music theory gubbins on it there. And then down here, this is all my MIDI routing. I have to write it all down. So let's just go through that while I'm talking about the MIDI routing. So basically the way it works is, let's come back down to the Deluge. So the Deluge controls everything. And everything is connected together via kind of MIDI through or MIDI splitter cables and so on. So I can, when I press play on the Deluge, okay, everything is synchronized up together. So literally everything will start playing in the studio, and I can also MIDI sequence everything from the Deluge, which is generally how I tend to work. Rather than using the internal sequencers, I will just sequence the stuff from the MIDI, and it's also controlling the modular from CV and so on. If anybody wants a more in-depth video on how I'm doing all that, then I'll be happy to do that. Stick that in the comments below and I will happily do that. So basically the MIDI routing is doing this. The Deluge is the master, so that's sending everything out. I've got a MIDI splitter coming out of there. One is going to the Model D and one is going to the Uno drum. The Model D has another MIDI splitter coming out of it. One of those is going to the MIDI to CV converter for the Platts module, and one is going to the Volkers. And then the Uno drum has another MIDI splitter coming out of it. One of those is going to the Micro Freak, and one is going to the Uno synth. The Uno synth is then going to the System 8. No, sorry, the Uno synth is then going to a MIDI through thing, which has got 5 outputs on it, which is then going to the System 8, the MS-20, the Minilog, the Microbrute, and the TD3. We've got a MIDI out from the TD3, which is going to the Complete Control S25 into the laptop. So that's sending just basically MIDI clock into the laptop. And then coming out of the System 8, we're going to the MX1. The MX1 is then sending MIDI out via USB to the TB03. The TB03, this is ridiculous. The TB03 is then going MIDI out into the TR6S, which is going MIDI out into the machine. And at the moment, it all works. When I press play on the Deluge, everything works and I can just sequence everything from the Deluge, which is bloody fantastic. So that's that end of the studio. Quick look down this end. So this is the sort of the teaching area. Got a couple of drum kits. I've got a Jabeki electronic kit there with quite a load of cymbals, and then we've got an old D drum kit there. We've got the acoustic drums in the corner. We've got my Casio electronic piano there because I teach piano as well a bit. We've got Tommy Lee from Motley Crue there. We've got a chair there. We've got an egg-shaped fridge there. So let's just do a little sweep round the whole studio. So there's the drums. So the drums actually, oh, there's a bit I've forgotten back down here. We've got the Yamaha drum pads as well, which I also use when I'm playing live because I do some live drumming. The drum pads are all connected to, we've got a TD3 over there, and we've got the D drum module there. So all the drum pads are connected to those, and then they are going kind of MIDI to each other, going into the MX1, and then that's sending that out to this laptop down here, which isn't open at the moment, and I'm running Easy Drummer 3 on there just for the sound. So rather than using the internal sounds from the 2 drum modules, I'm actually using Easy Drummer 3, which sounds absolutely brilliant. It's great stuff. So yeah, we've got like a few tuition posters. We've got drum rudiments there. We've got a clock that never works because I never put batteries in it. These two monitors are for when I'm teaching, so I have the lesson info on there. And then you see we've got some acoustic treatments in the room. And as we go around, that is basically the studio. So there we go. That's my studio. It's ridiculous. The connections and the cables in here are absolutely mental. I start off with all the greatest intentions of keeping it all nice and neat and the cables, and then I think, oh, what happens if I connect that to that? And then they all get tangled up everywhere, and I just give up. I just accept the fact that there are a lot of cables, and it's always going to be a mess in here. But it's my happy place. It's I like it to go where I like to know. Sorry, start again. It's where I like to be. I can lose hours in here. So yeah, as I mentioned, if anybody is interested in how I'm routing all the audio and MIDI together, then put a few comments. If I get enough comments in the on this video, I will do a more in-depth video on that. Like I say, basically, I've been through the MIDI connections. Basically, all that's happening with the audio is pretty much every synth is going into this new mixer. There's a couple going into the MX1, which is then going into a channel on this mixer, and then that's the audio interface as well, which is it in basic terms. But it's great. It just means I can control everything in the studio just from the Deluge, and it's fantastic. And you'll see me doing that when I do some jams and stuff at some stage. So that's basically it. That's the studio as it stands now. There's been a couple of additions. The main one is the Machine Plus and the Moog Mavis. I have got rid of a few things. I've sold the Push 2 because I wasn't using it. I've also sold the little MB33 little 303 emulator because I've got enough 303 stuff. I don't need any more. And yeah, that's it. So thanks for watching. Like I say, anybody, if you are supporting me on Patreon already, massive thanks for that. If you're interested in just helping the channel out and supporting me for the price of a cup of coffee a month or less, then there are links to that in the description below. And if anybody's got any questions or comments, requests for future videos, stick those in the box below, and I will see you very soon on a load of live streams. Thanks for watching. Bye. Around your heart. Let me stay and rest. It's all too beautiful to